it's me, Vicky Marie. And good morning. Oh, hang on. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Now, there's a new. Where's it gone? Where's it gone? There's a new thing on StreamYard where you can show the comments on stage. It was showing up a minute ago and now it's disappeared. Let's see if I can find it. Because it would really help me if I could read comments as I go along and I don't have to keep flashing in between things. But anyway. Oh, let's see. Okay. Sorry. Oh, so yeah, this is a new thing on StreamYard. You should be able to see the comments in the bottom right-hand corner, which is good, isn't it? It's not a facility. This is a new facility on StreamYard. Anyway, sorry I was a few minutes late. As usual, just as I was about to go live, I had a coughing fit. You know, there's always something happens. So as you can hear, I'm not 100% better yet. Though I am so much better, but I've just had a class. So I think the more talking I do, the more my voice gets croaky, etc. So, yeah, I have to just keep drinking the Ribena. Hopefully, I won't have any coughing fits or anything. So here we are. Let me just take my name off. Do you know, it's funny, StreamYard, the things that... right, what am I looking for? I'm going to take my name off now. Where's the style? Style. Take name off. Yeah, I'll get there in the end. So yeah, here we are. I think it's day 16 of the Erin Patterson murder trial. The mushroom murders. Yeah, these horrible mushrooms. And it's all getting very interesting now. I mean, it's sort of hard going in a way because there's a lot of technical evidence coming out. But this is the important evidence. We are now in, is it week 4 or week 5? Oh God, I've forgotten which week we're in. We're on day 16, but I can't remember which week it is. And we've come to the nitty gritty, the prosecution case against Erin. We heard about the lunch where she served up the beef Wellington, etc., on different plates. But recently we've heard about where these deathcap mushrooms that were found to have been served up to these poor people. These are the people that attended the lunch, aren't there? There's Don, there's Gail, there's Heather and Ian. And only Ian survived this lunch. And he gave his testimony right on day 1 and 2 of the trial. Now, we've sort of gone through a lot of the sort of circumstantial evidence, the medical evidence, just to establish that these people, the 3 people who died, did die of deathcap poisoning. Ian had to have a liver transplant. He survived, but he had to have a liver transplant. In the meantime, Erin, who actually served up the lunch, she had no signs of deathcap mushroom poisoning, did she? She threw away a dehydrator that was found to have traces of deathcap mushrooms. She lied about having cancer at the lunch. She fed these poor people this beef Wellington that was laced with deathcap mushrooms, allegedly, but not even allegedly now, I don't think. I think we've seen enough evidence to know that these people were served up deathcap mushrooms in a mushroom paste. And she sat there and watched them eat it. And then they all prayed for her at the end because she revealed that she'd been diagnosed with cancer, which turned out to be completely untrue. She was not diagnosed with cancer. And her defense have tried to sort of twist that. And so she didn't say she was diagnosed with cancer. She said it was a possible diagnosis of cancer. No, just horrible, isn't it? And she had also, of course, invited her husband along, Simon, but he decided not to go, luckily for him. But he did lose his mum and dad. He lost Don and Gail, who were his mum and dad, and his auntie Heather. And as I say, only Ian, Heather's husband, survived. So we've heard a lot of evidence that really is quite damning of Erin. Now, the evidence we're going to look at on this day, this to me is where because now the detective, the homicide detective was speaking. Remember yesterday, Erin, despite saying that she had an upset tummy and diarrhea, when she stopped on a long trip, she took a 9-second toilet break. 9 seconds. Literally every time I've gone to the loo today, I've tried to count how long it took me. Only because it's just impossible. Even to just go and do a quick wee, 9 seconds. It's impossible. I wonder if she didn't go in that toilet to flush something down the toilet, get rid of some evidence, maybe. But one thing's for certain, she did not do a proper toilet stop for 9 seconds. 100% certain she didn't. So what the evidence has been on day 16 are her internet searches. So we've already seen the digital phone expert saying, that he could place Erin around the places that deathcap mushrooms were seen to have been growing. That we've already seen. What we're going to look at today, what the prosecution presented today, was her internet searches. The searches she made when the police seized her devices, her phones, her computer. And we'll see that she did search this website, this iNaturist website or naturalist website, which is like a citizen science platform. She searched it. So I just think all this evidence is just every day. I think this is a deliberate thing by the prosecution. Every day now, they'll be gearing up. I can't see how this verdict is going to be anything but guilty. I just can't see it. Unless something dramatic, the defence pulls something dramatic out of the bag. And I started to get she's really quite an evil person, Erin. If this is all true, if she turns out to be found guilty, what she's done is so sneaky. Seems like she was planning it for at least a couple of months. And then she had to cook the beef Wellington, prepare it, dehydrate the mushrooms that she said she got in a Chinese supermarket or an Asian supermarket, but she can't remember which one. And there's no credit card trace, no bank trace of the purchase. It's really quite evil what this woman has done, I think, if she has done it, if she's found guilty. But I'm at a point now where I just think, oh, how can she not be? But I could be wrong. It wouldn't be the first time I've been wrong. So let me say thank you to everyone. I forgot to put my banner on. I feel a bit dozy today. I don't know why. I mean, I did sleep quite well, but I didn't have many hours sleep. I went to bed quite late. But I want to thank all of you for watching, for subscribing, for being members, for caring about this particular case as well. Because, you know, sometimes with older people, like Don and Gail was 70 years old and Heather was 66, I think. Sometimes older people don't get cared about enough, I don't think, you know, when they're murdered or whatever. You know, because, you know, there's always this sort of, it's not as glamorous, is it? It's not as glamorous as the cases where there's young, attractive women involved or whatever. And, you know, there are always the most popular, when I say the most popular cases, you know, the most widely watched cases, aren't there? So thank you for caring about these three people that died, and Ian, of course, who's been through so much trauma. Because quite often I don't think they get the attention that they deserve. I don't think older people who are victims of crime get the right attention, personally. Okay, so yeah, special thank you to my members. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who's bought me a Ko-fi, PayPal'd me, sent me a super sticker, sent me a nice email, all those of you that have written songs and sent in lovely videos and photos of dolls, etc. Thank you so much for every way that you support my channel. And hi lurkers, hello there you fellow lurkers, hope you're all well today. Thank you for watching. Thank you replay crew for watching. And now I'm going to come and say hello to everyone in the chat. Now I have got the chat on my screen here, but having said that, I can't see it very well. Let me make it bigger for me, and then I might be able to do it. Oh yeah, I can't. Anyway, I can at least see some chat there on the screen. So if I have a problem again where I'm not sharing or there's no sound or all the many things that go wrong when I'm doing a live, at least I will see it on the screen when you're all shouting at me. So, okay, let's have a look. Hi, Admit. Hi, Bluebell. Oh. Hi, David. Didn't know what. Bluebell. Bluebell. I don't like that F word. Hi, Excel. Yeah, could be. Could be. Do you know, but I'll tell you what, when she doesn't, because she hasn't pled guilty, she's put, this trial is costing so much money, isn't it? And so I think the judge, you know, I suppose she will get life anyway. But if she had any chance of parole or any chance of any leniency, I think she's lost that, making this trial go on, and how much money it must have cost, etc. So she's never coming out. If she's found guilty, I don't think she's ever coming out. But I don't know. Yeah, so exactly, David. This super sleuth, because don't forget, Erin was on a true crime website, a true crime Facebook group. She was described as a super sleuth. But on that website, she was saying how she'd been putting dried mushrooms in everything since she bought a dehydrator. The dehydrator, which later she told the police she didn't have a dehydrator, but she's not much of a super sleuth, is she? Because she'd actually said on her Facebook post that she had a dehydrator and she was putting mushrooms in everything, even the children's chocolate brownies, and nobody had noticed, bragging about it. You know, and then later say, no, dehydrator, me? Oh, I've never had a dehydrator. You know what I mean? So she's one of those thickos who think they're clever. Of course, the real clever ones, we probably don't get to know about because maybe they cover their traces so well they don't end up on trial for murder. But these the most ridiculous sort of criminals we deal with, are those who think they're intelligent, think they're one step ahead of the police, don't they? But actually they're not. Anyone who knows anything about true crime, I don't even think you'd have to know about true crime, but we all know about search history, and that, if we did anything wrong, God knows what the police would make of my search history. I mean, I never go into one place. I never ever go for whatever research or anything is the dark web. Never ever. But yeah, I'm always sort of googling strange things. It's like, because I do content on true crime, so I have to research things. And I often think, yeah, if the police broke into my house and went through my search history, oh my God, apart from your normal little naughty things that you might look at. I mean, we all look at naughty things sometimes. Well, I think we do. We're all human. We've got human curiosity. But as I say, apart from the actual dark web, which I never ever go anywhere near. They would never find that. But I've looked at terrorist sites. I've looked at obviously murder things, and everything that I've looked at, and they'll all be there on my history. I know they're there. So Erin must have known that all the things she searched would be there. Was she so confident that nobody would ever suspect her? I bet she got a real shock because the hospital did so well, didn't they? They diagnosed deathcap mushroom poisoning very early on. That's the only reason that Ian is even still alive on this planet, because they did manage to diagnose it within a couple of days. And I think Erin, she must, when they, God, if she didn't have diarrhea before, when they told her that, we think it's deathcap mushroom poisoning, I bet she definitely shit herself then, because she was probably confident that nobody would know what the problem was. Or was she, and again, I do feel, did she mean to actually kill them? Or was she just trying to make them ill? But the biggest problem for all of us to get our heads around is why, isn't it? Why would she do it? Why? Anyway, really, I should not try and think. I think some people just are nasty people. Sometimes people do really weird things and there's no reason for it. Anyway. Hi, Annie. Where are we? So, so it was obvious that on her search history, and we saw with Stefan Stearns, you can't delete your search history. The only way really, the only thing you can do, you've got to destroy your memory card, haven't you, or whatever, your hard drive. You've got to find a way of hiding that or destroying it. So, because if the police can get your hard drive, doesn't matter what you've deleted, doesn't matter how many factory resets you've done, the police can normally their experts can normally get to it, can't they? So anyway, I like having the chat on there. It's good. It works good. Yeah. So I can see, I can't read it very well because it's only small, but I can see it. So that's good. So let's have a look. What happened when they seized her devices? So, of course, as soon as, she acted suspiciously, didn't she? Because, she was told that she'd probably been poisoned by deathcap mushrooms, and she discharged herself after 5 minutes. She definitely wanted to go home and, hide things or rearrange things or do something. She discharged herself so quick from that hospital, despite having been told that 2 of the people at the lunch were in a coma or at least seriously ill. And the fact that she might have to have a liver transplant, And she went, oh, that's okay. I'm going home. I'll be back later. Well, of course you wouldn't do that. And then, of course, she initially was reluctant for her children to get checked out, despite the fact her children had eaten leftovers, supposedly from that lunch. But obviously, whatever her children ate were totally separate from what had been served up at the lunch. So, yeah, she's acted very suspiciously. So, okay, let's have a look at what happened in the trial on day 16, the latest. You know, so let's go back to the beginning. So, a new day of court proceedings set to get underway in Erin Patterson's triple murder trial in Morwell. On Tuesday, we concluded with telecommunications expert Matthew Sorrell, who gave the court a detailed explanation of mobile phone networks and the alleged movement of Erin Patterson's phone. We then heard from Detective Senior Constable Kuong Tran, who was tasked with investigating the murders, and his testimony will continue. So it was Mr. Tran who told us that her bathroom break was literally 9 seconds. So apparently there was a delay to start off with. Let's go. What was the next thing? No, I don't want a refresher on the case. We've just had one. So there was a delayed start because the jury, there were legal discussions going on. And then finally, oh no, they had an extended break. So this newspaper did a little recap, but we've had a recap anyway. So finally, the jury was led into the courtroom and they were underway. Justice Beale explained to the jury that another witness will be interposed for Detective Senior Constable Kuang Tran. So they decided not to bring Mr. Tran back, the homicide detective. They decided to call Shaman Fox Henry, a digital forensics expert with Victoria Police, as a witness. Now, what I might do is try and find a picture and put it up there. It's always good to be able to see the people who are speaking. Right. Let's have a picture up. I'm going to load these pictures of these experts up so that I can put them. So this is Shaman Henry, the person who is speaking now. Hi, Justice Jane. So just so that you've got a face to put to the person. So who is Shaman Fox Henry? I mean, that's a name and a half, isn't it? Shaman Fox Henry. Mr. Fox Henry details to the court his training as a computer expert with the Victoria Police Cybercrime Unit. He explains the various software used by the police to extract data from mobile phones and computers. He's been with Victoria Police since October 2020, mainly working on data recovery. You know, these people, these experts, they are the heroes of cases, aren't they? The unsung heroes. People working, you know, behind the scenes, you know, the experts analysing data, etc. So they give the prosecution have got ammunition, to against the accused and the defence, of course. So we mustn't forget that sometimes these experts, they come in to help the defence as well, not only the prosecution. So to get through the basics of digital forensics, Mr. Fox Henry has prepared his own slideshow for the court, and his PowerPoint presentation is flashed up on the screen, titled Digital Forensics. And the title of the first slide is What is a Computer? Right, okay. So the prosecution asks Mr. Fox Henry what a computer is, and he begins explaining the intricacies of how data is processed and interpreted by computers. So, we've had quite a lot of detailed expert testimony, haven't we, about mushrooms, about the phone expert. Now we've got the actual computer expert. So he details how data recovery works off a seized computer. Authorities will take a hard drive, create a digital copy of the contents, and then run the copy through analysis and recovery software. And the software is built to extract data, media, and files and put it into a format readable by humans. Now, this is like foreign language to me. I know Spanish, but this computer, I'm not very good with all this kind of things. My brain doesn't work in this way. My brain works in a language way, doesn't work in a numbers way or an analysis way. So once the data is in a readable form, it is exported to another external hard drive and given to investigators. And then he takes the jury through more basics of digital forensic work. The data is then provided in a non-editable form to police investigators. And then he says, we move on to digital forensic for phones. He says a similar process is followed to extract data. 2 software programs are used to recover data: Celebrite from phones and Magnet Axiom for computers. What is software? Justice Beale asks. It is an application or program we use to examine or interpret the data. And I'm glad the judge asked that question because, you can never assume knowledge. I don't know what software is. You hear that word bandied around a lot. Hear a lot of these words bandied around, but you should never, one rule of being a teacher that I've found, you should never assume knowledge. People will say to you about, oh yeah, just right click on your computer. Some people don't know what right click is. You can never assume that people will know because I've learned that teaching Spanish. You assume that somebody will at least know something, but they don't. You have to always assume they know nada. I know nothing. It's like they know nada zilch and start on that basis. So sometimes people are scared to ask an obvious question. So it's good that the judge asked that. What is software? If you're not a computer analyst, why would you know what software was? Anyway, then it says that police can search for files of interest by looking for keywords or narrowing down activity over a period of time. He says that the individual segments of data are known in the digital forensic space as artifacts. The court hears that files, folders, and data, such as internet searches, are considered artifacts. And can be copied and analysed by recovery software. The software will generate information about artifacts, such as when it was created or last accessed. Lunch break. Back from the break, and we continue with the testimony of Mr. Shaman Fox. Mr. Shaman Fox Henry. So they briefly recap the term artifacts, which are items of data that have been tagged by investigators and then analysed by software. Mr. Fox Henry establishes that details such as when an artifact was created, where it is located on a computer, and when it was last accessed can be discovered. A new slide is up, files and folders. A folder holds one or more files, and a folder can be empty until it is filled, the text says. There's also a diagram on the screen showing icons of files and an icon of a folder for anyone who aren't familiar. I do know about folders. I've got that many. So he then goes over the different categories of information tied to computer files that can refer to time, created time, date. Right, I'm going to take his photo off now for a minute because I think you might be interested in seeing this. Just make sure you're all okay. Hi, my angel. Oh, yeah, Justice Jane. It is a beautiful language, definitely beautiful language. And yeah, conjugation though it is a pattern. Anyway, sorry, I'm digressing. I show comments on the stage where, right, okay. So he goes over the different categories of information. So created date time, last modified date time, and last accessed date time. And the created date refers to when a file was initially created, and the last modified date refers to the last time it was edited or changed. And the last access date refers to the last time the computer tried to open the file. And if you've looked at the properties category on your computer at home, these terms will look familiar. Yeah, well, I've definitely seen these. Presume most of us have. If you've got a computer, if you spend any time on the computer, this reporter has very kindly sort of provided a screenshot anyway for us to look at. So, a line on one of Mr. Fox Henry's presentation slides states, the last access date and time is not a reliable source of user activity. And when he is asked to clarify this, he says that virus scanner software could potentially impact the last access data, date, but should not alter the other two categories. Oh, it's interesting. I think we have certainly we're more knowledgeable about a lot of things now than we were. I don't know than we were before this trial started. I don't know how useful the information is going to be. I know a lot more about mushrooms. I know a lot more about how telephone data is collected, which, to be honest, that is useful in other cases that I'll do. And this computer thing, you know what it's made me think of? I don't know if any of you are watching, you know the case of Harold Shipman, Dr. Shipman, Dr. Death, who was he's probably the biggest serial killer in British history because he killed, well, an uncountable number of his patients. Death in the afternoon, he would inject them, do a house call and inject them and murder them. And he was caught through, I think, to me, he's the first person I can remember being caught through trying to mess about with computers. So he tried to change some of the, computers were only just coming in then. There is a video about him on my channel. If you put in Harold Shipman or Dr. Shipman, it will come up, the video that I did about him. But yeah, he went on and tried to alter the data on his computer about his patients, and that's what helped to catch him. So yeah, computers, although they make our lives easier, of course, don't they? And it's great. But if you're a criminal, a computer can be your undoing, can't it? Easily. because you think you can mess around with them. As I say, people who think they're clever, but of course, these data experts, they're more clever, and they can find out when and it's always going to attract attention if somebody's been trying to mess about with their computer details. So anyway, then they got into more technical territory, EML X files, which relate to emails, and these artifacts contain three parts: a header, message body, and an attachment. The next slide turns to history artifacts, which show a record of internet browsing history and the associated database file. Common browsers include Google Chrome, Mozilla, and Internet Explorer, he says. Internet Explorer is now known as Microsoft Edge. For our younger audience members. Now, Microsoft Edge is so irritating, I find. I don't know about you, but it's so intrusive. It's always trying to get you to do things. That's the only thing I know AI and all these kind of things are useful in lots of ways. But what I don't like is, even whether you want to use them or not, they're there, like trying to make you use them. And they got my nerves, so I spend more time clicking them off because I don't want to, because sometimes you think, oh, okay, I'll use that, might help. And then you end up going on this bloody, it takes you longer to do it because you don't really understand how it works. But anyway, so another term is raised, favicon, short for favorite icon. I wouldn't have known that. A favicon is the icon associated with a website, which is displayed in the address and tabs of a browser. I will break the third wall here. Our readers can look up to the top of their screen to see the very nice ABC favicon. Right, that's interesting. Yeah, the favicon, the ABC logo. They are interesting, these things. So, so the next slide turns to history artifacts, which show a record of internet browsing history and the associated database file. Common browsers include Google Chrome, Mozilla, and Internet Explorer, he says. Internet Explorer is now known as I've already read that. I've read all that, sorry. I'm going up. So, slides are shown to the court explaining the various artifacts left over on a computer following the use of a search engine like Google. In a nutshell, it is some of the random-looking numbers and letters that can appear in an URL, when one conducts a search using a search engine. The next slide covers cookies, which are small pieces of data that a website stores on your computer or device when you visit it. That's another thing that drives you mad, because every time you go onto anything now, it asks you if you have to accept the cookies now, don't you? Or reject them. Whereas they always just used to go in automatically. By analysing cookies on a computer, forensic investigators can trace back to which websites a computer visited. And I think even if you clear your cache, like in other words, if you remove your browsing history or clear the cookies, sometimes you have to do that to create space on your computer. I think, though, from the hard drive, I think the forensic investigators can still find them. I don't think you can ever get rid of them. So the slide ticks over to caches. This is information that can include web pages, pictures, and other resources. An example is your mobile phone caches information to allow you to recall where you were on that app. A few more terms to learn, including IE in private recovery URLs. These are URLs that can be recovered anywhere from a user's device, the presentation says. Windows timeline activity refers to information about application usage, including start and end times and the duration a program was open for. So it just goes to show there's nothing that they can't establish. So the sideshow draws to a close and we move on to the case at hand. So the devices seized by the police in the Erin Patterson case are raised by the prosecution. Every time the police seize an item, it's given a unique identifying number referred to as a palm number. The prosecution begins with a Cooler Master personal computer with the palm number 202308 C0124001, which it says was seized on August the 5th, 2023. And Mr. Fox Henry says he commenced his extraction of data from the computer on August the 15th. So the prosecution tells the court the seized personal computer had 3 drives, a 120 GB Samsung SSD, which apparently stands for solid state drive, a 256 GB Hitachi HDD, if we go with the initials again, which is a hard disk drive, and 120 GB Silicon Power SSD that was disconnected. So the report that was made by Mr. Fox Henry is shown to the court, and a list of artifacts labelled as past search queries is shown. And the first record shows a search term, iNaturalist. So if you've been following this case with me, we know that the iNaturalist site is very important, isn't it? Because that's where deathcap mushrooms were reported to have been seen, weren't they, by Funky John and the other mushroom expert who spoke. So, Funky Tom, he was called, wasn't he, the mushroom expert? So we know that iNaturalist has displayed where deathcap mushrooms grow. So, it's like, this is more damning evidence for Erin. She was searching the iNaturalist website. I mean, you've got to think, why was she searching it as well? Anyway, the records show that a Bing search was done for the iNaturalist website on May the 28th, 2022, 14 months before the launch. An iNaturalist is a citizen science website where we've heard witnesses in the trial say they posted the location of deathcap mushrooms. This is very damning evidence against Erin, isn't it? Combined with everything else. I mean, again, as I've said before, one of these various bits of, I think the prosecution has built up their case very well, bit by bit. And maybe if you just knowing that Erin had searched iNaturalist wouldn't be enough to convict her, would it? Just knowing that she only went to the loo for 9 seconds wouldn't be enough, although she said she had diarrhea, wouldn't be enough to convict her. Her lying about having cancer, wouldn't be enough to convict her. Even the deathcap mushrooms, traces of them in the dehydrator. What will convict Erin, in my opinion, is the culmination of all these things. You put all these things together, obviously, to me anyway, and I'm sure the jury will look the same way at it, but we'll see. Maybe they won't. I mean, all the defence has got to do is create a reasonable doubt. So, if they do manage to do that, maybe she will get off with it, but personally, I can't see it. So a search artifact from Google Chrome on the same date shows an internet search was conducted for Corranborough Middle Pub. And this search was made minutes after the search for iNaturalist. and the records show further Bing searches for the term iNaturalist were conducted. So at the moment, our timeline for May the 28th, 2022 looks like this. 7:20 p.m. iNaturalist is searched. 7:21 p.m. iNaturalist is visited, and 7:23 p.m. Korumburra Middle Pub is searched. Now, what I'd like to know, and maybe it'll come up, is just before 7:20 on that day, what were Erin's messages with her ex-husband or anyone? You know, was she having an argument with him over the phone? You know, what prompted Erin to go on the iNaturalist? Had she just had a blazing text argument with Simon, or even a phone call, and she was pissed off with him, and that's why? Just makes you wonder, doesn't it? What prompted these searches? Oh, another short break. So, as we return, more records are put up on the screen about internet activity extracted from Erin Patterson's alleged web browsing history. Now, it's interesting when they say an alleged web browsing history, because obviously it was her. I don't think that's alleged, is it? They show visits to the iNaturalist website around 7:22 and 7:23 p.m. on May the 28th. One of the Earls links to an iNaturalist page with the observation of a deathcap mushroom in Melbourne. And the title of the web page is listed as Deathcap from Melbourne, Victoria, Australia on May the 18th, 2022 at 2:36 p.m. by naturalist user, whoever it was, Bricker Reserve Moorabbin, iNaturalist. Oh, and see this, what the judge says then. Don't be tempted to put these searches into Google and conduct your own investigations, the judge warns. I presume he's referring to the jury there, because you know what? As soon as anyone read this or saw this, I won't be doing it, but I bet there's a load of, the iNaturalist website has probably crashed the number of people that have searched it since this case came up. They definitely will have had an influx of traffic, won't they? People interested in their site. So, after some very technical and methodical questioning regarding the data extracted from the computer, the term focus is raised. And Mr. Fox Henry says the records can show how long a device was looking at a particular web page, with an example of the front page of iNaturalist given. The records show it was focused on for 8 seconds, just about as long as it took Erin to go to the toilet. She was on the bloody iNaturalist site nearly the same length of time before moving on to a different page. So she was focused on the iNaturalist site for just as long as it took her to go to the loo when she had diarrhea. Anyway, now we've got Gail Patterson's phone introduced to court. That's interesting because Gail, of course, let's have a look. Let's have a look at Gail. Poor Gail. I mean, she's there up in the top corner, but it's not, you can see her better. So Gail is this lady, one of the victims, one of the people who sadly died. She is Erin Patterson's estranged husband, Simon, his mum, and this is her husband, Don, who also died. Now, just a reminder that at the mushroom lunch, at the beef Wellington lunch, Gail only ate half of her portion. She said it was delicious. I think they all said it was delicious, but it was a bit too much for her. So she left half, and Don sadly finished off that portion. And he was actually the first to get really ill, but he ate the most. So that's Gail. And now it's her phone that's introduced to court. Interesting. So a new device is introduced to the court a Samsung mobile device, a mobile phone with the palm number 202.308C0484004. And this device will feature later in the trial and was examined by a different police officer using Celebrite software. And the prosecution reveals that this was Gail Patterson's phone. So that's interesting. I wonder why they've introduced that. And they're saying it'll come up again later in the trial. Yeah. Oh, God, there's still a lot to come in this trial, isn't it? By the look of it, I was thinking it might be over this week, but I don't know now. So the prosecution makes a mention of messages sent and received by Gail Patterson's phone. Dates and well, that's my son's phone, I think, that's beeping. The prosecution makes mention of messages sent and received by Gail Patterson's phone. Dates and times are given for each of these, but the prosecution says it will go through the content of these messages later with a different witness. Oh, and that's it. We've run out of time. It's just getting interesting. We've run out of time now, meaning we'll pick up with the more seized devices and more testimony from Mr. Fox Henry tomorrow. The judge heads out and court is adjourned. Oh, that surprises me, to be honest. So let's have a recap. Here's what we learned. A slightly delayed start as lawyers discussed a range of legal matters before the jury was seated. Our sole testimony came today from Shaman Fox Henry, a digital forensic expert with Victoria Police, who analysed devices seized from Erin Patterson's home. So let's have another look at him. This is him. This is the guy that gave the testimony today and who's going to carry on again tomorrow. It seems like because they were so late getting going, they've not got through much, have they, today? And here's what we learned. So, Victoria Police seized a range of devices from Erin Patterson's home following the lunch, including a desktop computer. Now, Erin must know that those searches were on there. So, did she think she'd makes you wonder, doesn't it? Did she think she'd hid them? Did she think she'd done a Stefan Stearns and successfully hid those searches from the police? I wonder if when she was at the hospital and they mentioned deathcap mushrooms, if that's why she discharged herself after 5 minutes so that she could go home and try and wipe off her data, possibly, but not realising that the police can get it anyway. So Mr. Fox Henry made a copy of the contents of the computer's 3 hard drives before searching for relevant terms in the data such as deathcap and mushrooms. And records recovered by the police from the drives show that the computer searched on Bing for the iNaturalist website in May 2022, some 14 months before the lunch. Now, it's important to remember that Erin initially as well had been accused of attempting to murder her ex-husband Simon, but those charges have been dropped, so we're not even going into those. So it does seem, had she made some attempts before? Because this is 14 months before the lunch. Anyway, on the iNaturalist website, the computer looked at pages that showed a recent deathcap mushroom sighting in Melbourne. I mean, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Erin wasn't particularly looking for deathcap mushrooms then, but then maybe saw that post, and that's what gave her the idea. Do you know, she may have been literally innocently looking at the iNaturalist website and then saw these posts about deathcap mushrooms, and it's like, oh, deathcap mushroom. You just don't know, do you? Police also seized the phone of lunch victim Gail Patterson and messages sent to and from the phone will be shown later in the trial. Oh my God, it's really getting interesting. I mean, I wonder what sort of things Gail said after that lunch. I know initially she said it was all lovely, but did she, when she got ill or when Don got very ill, wonder if she sent messages sort of insinuating that maybe Erin had something to do with it. It's possible, isn't it? So I think that's it for today. Very interesting day, I think. Just as and the thing is, it's sad really in a way, or it's frustrating, because just as it's getting really interesting, of course, there's going to be more delays, because now we didn't even hear from the defence at all today. I don't know if Mr. Mandy, which actually reminds me, I want to put a picture of the defence lawyer up there and the prosecution lawyer. Let's have a look. Have I got time? Actually, no, I'll do it another time. I'm going to make sure there's a picture up there of the defence lawyer, the prosecution lawyer, and different witnesses that come up. Because because we're reading from a newspaper article, just to remind everyone, this trial is not being televised, but the media are allowed 8 places every day. Also, they are receiving like a video link, but they can't reproduce the video, but what they can do is report on what's being said. So it's strange, really. Why don't they just televise it? I don't know why they don't just televise it if the media can really, because so we have to rely on the information from the media. We're not there at the actual trial and we can't watch the trial, so we have to rely on whichever media we follow. We have to rely on what they say, that it's accurate. But I do think this ABC Australia has been accurate, or it's felt as if it's been accurate, interesting, thorough. They've put as much as they can in there. So yeah, but it's not, I just wanted to say that all the information we receive, it is third hand. We can't watch the trial, but we can, and the media can't replay the video that they see, but they can report on it. So it's interesting. Hi, Darren. So very, this case is getting more and more sort of, to me anyway, as I said, I think right from the beginning, I thought she was more likely to be guilty than innocent, because I just believe that, especially in this day and age, if the police bring a case to trial, they won't, if they manage to get it through the Crown Prosecution Service or the DA or whoever, if they actually manage to get the permission to take it to trial, they've had to have shown that there's a lot of evidence anyway, because they're not allowed, you won't be allowed to take a case to trial if you haven't got enough evidence. So I think you're always more or less 80% certain that the person's guilty when they go to trial. But of course, they're still entitled to their defence. And it all depends how good the defence are. And not only that, have they got anything? We've watched a couple of trials, like particularly the Rachel Marin trial. The defence had nothing. The defence was, he was trying to say that someone had planted his DNA there. There was DNA all over Rachel, and and that twonk that killed Rachel Marin, he was trying to say somebody had planted it there, his ex-girlfriend or something, out of spite. Crazy things. Denied even knowing his cousins, who said he'd been in the area at the time. He said they weren't his cousins, he didn't know who they were. So those kind of things. So sometimes there isn't a defence. And then other trials we've watched, the defence tries their best and puts up a good defence. There may be some little sort of doubts and chinks. But I just don't see it with this one. You know, I don't see that they have got any defense. What's the defense going to be? You know, they were trying to say, because Erin wasn't that ill with the mushroom poisoning, etc., they were trying to say, weren't they, that it depend different people, because obviously Erin, she's quite, you know, she's a substantial woman, and that she might not feel the effects as much as the more elderly and more frail ladies. They were trying to say that. What else were they were trying to say? I can't even remember. You know, the defence is so rubbish. You know, not even necessarily because of the defence's fault, because there is no defence or not much. I can't even really remember anything particular that the defence said that stuck out that made me think, oh, well, yeah, that's true. Maybe it's true. They've got nothing to work with, have they? They have got nothing to work with, the defence, I think, in this case. And now that the digital evidence is coming in, they're going to have even less, you know, proving that she searched. You know, she's been on the website. She's been in. Right, so let's face it. She's been on the website, so she knew about the deathcap mushrooms because it was there on her data. She'd been in the area that was there on her phone data. There was much. She threw away the dehydrator, and there were traces of deathcap mushrooms in it. She lied about having cancer. You know, you could go on and on, can't you? But when you go on the other hand to try and say what's in her defence, nothing. You know, so there you go. Okay, so that's it for today with this trial. Now I'll be back very, very shortly because I'm going to go now and look out, see if I can find anything about the Jay Slater trial. Because for those of you who don't know about that, that's a case that we followed last summer. Young British lad, 19 years old, fell into a ravine, supposedly, in Tenerife, and it's his inquest, his British inquest today, and I'm going to see if I can follow it. Okay, so I'll see you really soon in the next video, and until then, thank you for watching, thank you for caring about these victims, and may your God go with you. Bye.